this changes everything. Lynette has been found, but what if she's already been destroyed? I'm not even kidding right now. I had to stop and ask myself, did I hear that correctly? Did Tomas really find Lynette? Is this real? Or are we being lured into another brutal illusion before the real nightmare begins? Because listen, if Tomas has actually found Lynette, this is not some happy reunion. This is a battlefield. This is a rescue mission crawling through blood and betrayal. And I'm telling you right now, everything just changed. When I heard Tomas might have tracked Lynette down, my heart jumped, but only for a second, because then a darker thought hit me like a punch in the chest. What if he found her too late? What if Lynette is alive, but broken, silent, mutilated, erased? And suddenly this story isn't just about exposing Haley anymore. This is war. Tomas versus Randy, the hunt begins. Let's talk about Tomas, because I have to say it, this man may have finally moved in the right direction. Hiring the same detective Bill once used to dig into Andre, that is a power move. That means Tomas is no longer reacting. He's hunting, and that matters, because for the first time, someone is closing in on Haley's empire of lies. But can we talk about Bill for a second? Because I am furious, absolutely furious. Bill had resources. Bill had warning signs. Bill had every reason to investigate the snake sleeping in his own house. And what did he do? He used a detective to spy on Andre, one of the few decent people in this chaos, while the monster beside him, Haley, was practically sharpening a knife behind his back. How stupid can a man be? Seriously, how can Bill be so blind? It drives me insane. The man should have been watching his disgusting wife, not wasting time chasing shadows. And now the woman he trusted may be preparing to bury him. That is not marriage. That is psychological warfare. And if Bill keeps getting in Tomas's way, he could destroy the one chance anyone has to expose Haley. Randy versus Lynette, this is where things turn savage. Now let's get into what is haunting me. Because if Lynette has been found, what condition is she in? That question terrifies me because Randy doesn't strike me as a man who leaves loose ends breathing. And Lynette, she knew too much. She could blackmail. She could expose. She could destroy everything Haley and Randy built. So tell me, why would Randy let her walk free? He wouldn't. That's why my mind is spiraling into dark possibilities. And honestly, I hate how believable they are. What if Randy didn't just hide Lynette? What if he silenced her permanently? Think about it. Her sudden silence, her loss of aggression. Something is wrong, deeply wrong. Did he drug her? Inject something to destroy her voice? Did he make sure she could never testify? Never scream? Never tell Tomas the truth? That possibility is horrifying. But it doesn't stop there. Because someone as brutal as Randy, I can imagine worse, much worse. What if he shattered her legs so she couldn't run? What if he used acid? Yes, acid. I know how monstrous that sounds. But tell me that doesn't fit someone capable of disposing of bodies for a living. Tell me I'm wrong. I wish I were. Because the thought alone makes my skin crawl. This is no longer blackmail gone wrong. This feels like torture. And that is terrifying. Randy versus survival. He didn't just hurt her. He may have stripped her of life itself. And this part makes me sick. What if Randy stole Lynette's phone? Took her money, drained everything, cut off every lifeline. Think about how calculated that is. Not just hurting her physically, but making sure she can't survive. No money, no help, no way out. That is predator behavior. That is annihilation. And it fits Randy far too well. He doesn't just remove threats. He erases them. And if Lynette has been abandoned somewhere, injured, starving, voiceless, that may be crueler than murder, because then she is left to die slowly. Alone, forgotten, unless Tomas gets there in time. And this is why I'm emotionally losing it over this storyline, because suddenly Tomas finding Lynette isn't a clue. It may be a race against death. Tomas versus the truth. This could expose everything. But here's why I'm not giving up hope. Because if Tomas reaches Lynette, if she can speak, Or Evans signal or identify Sammy as Randy, then Haley is finished. Finished. Because let's not forget, Sammy, that fake identity, that fraud, that entire deception could collapse in one revelation. One witness, one confession, one surviving victim, and I need that to happen. I need Tomas to save her. Because he deserves to know he's been standing near a web of lies this whole time. And Haley, she deserves prison. No debate. No mercy. Prison, alongside Randy, lock them both up. Throw away the key. Because what they may have done to Lynette, if even half of it is true, is monstrous. Haley versus exposure, the trap could already be set. But wait, what if Tomas is even smarter than we realize? Because I had a thought and I nearly lost my mind. What if Tomas doesn't directly move on Haley yet? What if he baits her? Listen to this. What if Tomas accidentally lets Bill tell Haley that Lynette has been found? Do you realize how brilliant that could be? Because if Haley is innocent, she doesn't panic. But if she's guilty, she reacts fast, violently, desperately. And that reaction exposes everything. This could be the trap. This could be the move. Haley hears Lynette is alive, and suddenly she scrambles, makes calls, contacts Randy, covers tracks, and boom, she exposes herself. That is chess. That is warfare. And I am begging, this is where the story is going, because it would be explosive. Bill versus common sense. Don't ruin this. But I have one fear, one massive fear. Bill, again, because if Bill interferes, if he protects Haley out of weakness, if he warns her, if he chooses denial over truth, he could ruin everything. Everything. And honestly, that would be unforgivable. Because Tomas is finally closing in, finally, the truth is breathing, and Bill better not suffocate it. I'm serious. Because I've had enough of his passivity. Enough. At some point, ignorance becomes complicity. And Bill is dangerously close to that line. What if the detective didn't find Lynette, but found something even bigger? And here's another possibility nobody is talking about. What if Tomas's detective didn't physically find Lynette? What if he found evidence instead? Past scams, victims, records, fraud trails tied to Haley and Randy. Think about that. What if Lynette is just the doorway, but the detective uncovered a whole graveyard of secrets? That would be nuclear. Because then, this isn't just one crime. It's a pattern, a machine, a criminal operation, and suddenly, Haley isn't just a manipulative wife. She's a con artist sitting on a collapsing throne. That possibility, that changes the game. Because Tomas may be moving toward truth from multiple angles, and that makes Haley more vulnerable than she's ever been. Haley and Randy versus the clock. And that is why I think panic is coming, because villains like Haley and Randy don't fall gracefully. They explode, and desperate villains are the most dangerous. What happens when Haley realizes Tomas knows too much? What happens when Randy realizes Lynette may still be alive? Do they run? Do they attack? Do they silence someone else? Bill? Tomas? Who becomes the next target? These are not small questions. These are storm warnings. Because I feel it. Something violent is building. Something catastrophic. This is the calm before chaos. And let me say this, Randy terrifies me. I need to say it plainly. Randy scares me. Not because he shouts, not because he postures, but because he feels methodical, cold, practical. The kind of villain who cleans blood without emotion. And those are the worst ones. The ones who don't rage. They calculate, which is why I absolutely believe he could have done horrific things to Lynette. And I hate believing that. But this story keeps pushing in that direction. Every clue feels darker. Every reveal more brutal. Every silence louder. And I can't ignore it. Tomas vs. Destiny. But Tomas might be the disruption. the force that finally breaks this nightmare. And I need him to keep going. No hesitation. No warning, Haley. No trusting Bill. Go straight to the truth. Blow this open. Save Lynette. Expose Sammy. Destroy Randy. Bury Haley's lies. That is the mission. That is the war. And if Tomas succeeds, this could be the most explosive takedown we've seen. But if he fails, I don't even want to think about it. Because then Haley wins. And Eva walks free. Because what if Lynette holds the one secret that destroys them all? Here's what keeps haunting me. What if Lynette knows something bigger? Something even Haley fears. Some hidden secret, some identity, some murder, some past crime. What if that is why Randy had to silence her? What if this has never just been about blackmail money? What if Lynette stumbled into something much darker? Oh, if that's true, we're looking at an explosion. And I mean explosion. Because then rescuing Lynette isn't just saving a victim. It's detonating a buried conspiracy. And that is the kind of twist that changes everything. This is war. I keep saying it because it feels true. This is not drama anymore. This is war. Tomas versus Haley. Tomas versus Randy. Truth versus deception. Survival versus annihilation. And every side is moving. Every side is hiding something. Every side is preparing for impact. And I am telling you, I can feel a collision coming. A brutal one. So what happens next? Does Tomas rescue Lynette before it's too late? Did Randy torture her? Did he erase her voice forever? Will Haley panic when she hears Tomas may have found her? Will Bill finally wake up? Or betray the truth one last time? And what happens if Lynette opens her mouth and names Sammy? Can you imagine that moment? I get chills thinking about it. Because that would be the beginning of Haley's downfall. And I am ready. But here's the cliffhanger that is driving me insane. What if Tomas isn't the hunter anymore? What if he just became the prey? Because the moment Haley and Randy realize he's close, they may strike first. And if that happens, this stops being an investigation. It becomes survival. Everything feels ready to explode. One wrong move, one confession, one betrayal, war. So tell me in the comments, do you think Randy tortured Lynette? Is Tomas walking into a trap? Can Haley still be exposed? Or is something even darker coming? Because I need to know what you think.